Hello, I'm Henry.
And I'm Trey, and welcome to Marvelous, a Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast.
Where we go through the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe show by show, movie by movie, in order of release. And today we will be talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, Episodes 7 through 10.
Indeed, but first we have an announcement.
Yeah, I made a pretty big mistake, scientifically speaking, in the last episode. We were emailed by listener Jake, and he pointed out that I mixed up dark matter and antimatter, and I am really ashamed of that as a person who loves science and engineering. That was just really, really silly of me to do, and I hope you will forgive me for this crime to science I have mistakenly done.
Okay, is it time for S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I think it is, Trey.
So, for our context as we go into these episodes, I guess they take place right after Thor 2?
Yes, this is the first time that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episodes have come out after a Marvel movie. However, the first episode that actually is connected to one of the movies is episode 8, and we'll be talking about episode 7 first.
Yes, but episode 7 was still chronologically after the movie, right?
Yes, it came out right after.
Alright, so, Henry, tell me about episode 7.
Oh, Trey, let me tell you about episode 7 titled The Hub. Coulson and the rest of his group on the bus are called to The Hub, a secret base controlled by S.H.I.E.L.D., and they are tasked with fulfilling a secret mission, level 8 classified, and they need 2 men for the job, and these men are Ward and Agent Fitz. The rest of the crew is left in the dark about what this secret mission is, and Skye cannot accept that, and she finds out that it was actually a suicide mission. Can she save them? What will happen? Find out this time on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, so this episode had some good ideas, but I feel like they were executed very poorly.
I agree. They really wanted to build on the relationship between Fitz and Ward, especially since Ward had saved Simmons in a previous episode, and now Fitz feels kind of emasculated by him, but I didn't really feel it work very well. I don't think it did the job very well.
I agree. I didn't really feel anything between them by the end of the episode.
Yeah, they tried to make it seem like Ward now has this great trust and respect for Fitz, but it was just kind of clunky.
Yeah, and the themes were also kind of a mess, and I wasn't really clear on what they were going for, because first off, Skye's being really annoying in this episode when she won't just trust the system and she has to, go out of her way to debunk the whole level 8 and levels of classification or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
But she's told to trust the system, she doesn't do that, and really annoyingly gets into the system.
Using Simmons, which was rude.
Yeah.
And also Simmons following along with it was strange. And her whole interaction with Jasper Stillwell was weird.
I thought that part was hilarious, actually.
It was hilarious, but it was it was so cringy.
Yes.
To be fair, that's the point, because she's so bad at it.
Yes, but it was funny.
Yeah. Also, I didn't realize Sitwell's first name was Jasper, and that doesn't feel fitting to me, but I like it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I thought his name was Agent.
Yeah.
But anyways, so she finds out through her hacking that there's no extraction team for Fitz and Ward, and basically S.H.I.E.L.D's just gonna leave them to suicide, or to this suicide mission.
Or to escape on their own. It's not really made super clear. I think they just didn't care.
Yeah. So she confronts Coulson about it, and Coulson is like, trust the system, and is super lectury to her, and it seems like she did something wrong. But then he confronts Victoria Hand, and she also says trust the system, but he never knew about the extraction. And then at the end, they make it seem like Victoria Hand planned this all along, and that she's happy because Coulson's team doesn't need an extraction plan. And if that's the case, I don't know. The fact that if she thought Coulson's team would extract them, then she should have told them so that they would do it. Otherwise, she expected them to go hack behind their backs and access information that they're not allowed to have in order to extract them.
Yeah, especially because they just got Skye in trouble for hacking the system, and then she hacked it again, and Coulson celebrated her for it.
He didn't celebrate her for it this time.
Did he not?
He told her off and basically said, you need to trust the system, but then he goes and takes her information to Victoria.
No, I'm talking about at the end. it kind of seemed like he agreed that she was right.
Oh. Honestly, I don't know. This is why I was so confused by this episode, because I'm like, you seem like you're saying Sky is wrong, but then, like, if she hadn't done this, they would be dead. But you seem to be saying trust the system, and Victoria Hand planned this all along with the system, and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, it was very confusing. It didn't make sense.
Yeah. It was interesting seeing them next to Big Shield, though, and interact with, like, the larger organization, as well as having Agent Sitwell make a cameo.
Yeah, and they started mentioning things like the Triskelion, which is one of the biggest bases of S.H.I.E.L.D., which appears in Captain America 2.
Right.
Indeed. So this episode kind of didn't sit right with me, but there were some, like, really funny moments, like everything with Fitz in that sandwich. It was just silly, and I just liked how mad he still was about it later on. Also, when Fitz and Ward were captured, and Ward's like, oh, how attached are you to your pinky as one of their possible escape tactics? I thought that was hilarious.
And I'm sure that you personally connected to that one, which is why you liked it so much.
Because I don't have a pinky on one hand. Exactly. It was really funny to me.
Yeah, there were definitely funny moments. And my favorite was the one you mentioned about Gemma dealing with Agent Sitwell, because I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Oh, and she's so happy she shot him.
Yeah.
And she didn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sky does some minor hacking, and she has a, like, restrictive bracelet put on her arm. Simmons shoots a higher level officer and doesn't even get reprimanded.
I still don't even understand how Sky managed to loop her browser history to her bracelet while she had the bracelet on.
Don't question the tech. It's the same thing with the Soundwave weapon thingy that they were going to go disassemble in the episode anyways. It was strange.
Well, I mean, one is just like, we're gonna make up some tech stuff, but the other is like, this bracelet is supposed to stop or monitor everything she does technologically, and this is like, how can she get around it this easily then?
I mean, she's supposed to be this crazy super hacker.
Still, it doesn't make sense, and it bothers me.
I'm surprised that you're now upset about a sciencey thing.
It's plot logic, though. Like, if they introduce this bracelet that's supposed to track this thing, they should keep that as that thing.
Yeah, don't say there's a rule and then break the rule a minute later. That seems pretty ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially since this bracelet was specifically made to stop her from hacking S.H.I.E.L.D., and then she hacked S.H.I.E.L.D. anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, now Fitz and Ward are bros.
And Fitz actually was pretty useful in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even realize it that much until the very end when he, like, talked about how he saved Ward in all the different ways, because he's the one that got them out of the first situation in the bar. He's the one that, like, rigged this weapon that could take out everyone's guns to keep them alive during the end scene.
Yeah.
I also thought that end thing with his weapon was pretty cool.
Yeah, he is definitely handy. So the only thing left, really, is just the end when Coulson is telling Sky about the redacted file containing the information about her origin, where she came from. And Coulson says to her that some female S.H.I.E.L.D. agent dropped her off, which Sky takes that to mean it could be her mom. But Coulson knows it's not the truth.
Dropped her off at the orphanage.
What did I say?
You didn't say.
Oh. Yes, some S.H.I.E.L.D. agent dropped her off in a well. Hopefully she'll be fine. Oh wait, the well's the next episode.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so now there's way more mystery and intrigue around Sky's origin, which is hinting at some future plot points.
Yeah, and then at the very, very end, we also find out that Coulson doesn't have access to his Tahiti file to find out what happened to him.
Yes, they are increasing the mystery around that more and more, especially in all of these episodes.
Indeed. So, Henry, what would you rate this episode?
I don't really know. I'm somewhere mixed in between, like, thumbs down and thumbs sideways. How are you feeling?
Same, but I don't know. I feel like all of them are meh, but I don't feel like they're actively bad, so I'm gonna give it a sideways thumb.
I suppose I'll do that as well.
All right. Then, chugging along to episode 8.
Indeed.
What happens in this episode, Henry?
Well, before I go into my silly shenanigans about the episode, I just want to say that this is the first episode directly related to a movie. Thor: The Dark World is directly referenced in this movie which I wish it had a little bit more impact on the episode, but it's still a start for interconnecting the show and the movies.
It's not the first movie that's referenced, though, because the first episode referenced the Avengers.
Yeah, you're right. It's pretty much the same amount of connection as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has had with any of the other movies. But it happened during the time of the movie, so... It's a little different?
Yes. That actually bothers me, though, because there's no reason for it to happen at this time. It just seems like really convenient timing to tie into Asgard stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Like, the whole thing with the Berserker staff in this episode has almost nothing to do with the movie itself. It just has Asgardian tech and people in it.
Yeah. So, before we actually start getting super into the details, tell me about the episode, Henry.
Oh, Trey! Let me tell you about the S.H.I.E.L.D. episode number 8 of season 1 called The Well. In this episode, kind of connected to Thor the Dark World, but not so much, really. This couple finds the Berserker Staff, an Asgardian artifact that allows you to unleash superhuman strength by revealing the darkest emotions within you. The agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. find out about this Berserker Staff and go to find it first before any harm can happen. However, during the course of events, Agent Ward touches the rod, and it unleashes his dark, repressed childhood memories, and we see a little bit more about Ward's childhood. Can Ward get past his trauma? Where did this staff come from? Find out on this episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You okay there?
No. Maybe that was not my best summary.
It's okay, it wasn't their best episode.
Yeah, it was definitely a weird episode. It was cool to see some Asgardian tech. It kind of reminded me of the Berserker elf thing in the movie, where that Berserker elf shoved stones of some sort into its body to unleash superpowers. But it was like the Asgardian version of it?
It didn't shove stones in its body to unleash them, it just broke the stone to unleash them. It took the stone out of its body.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember the details.
Yeah, so I hate this episode. And I don't feel like I have a good reason to hate it. It's not a bad episode. It's fine. I don't know. I just really don't like it.
It is a really strange episode, but I do like that we get some more background about Ward. I really liked how they showed Ward's past with the trauma of him and his brothers, because when they begin the episode, they show a boy screaming in a well, and you assume that's Ward. But at the end of the episode, you see that he wasn't the boy in the well. He was one of the boys on top, and he wanted to rescue his little brother because apparently his older brother threw him into the well. So the trauma was still really dark, but it was a lot different than what we could have imagined in the beginning. And it really caught me off guard the first time I ever saw it.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the main thing this episode brings to the table. Just giving more backstory to Ward.
Yeah, and I also like how May reacted to the Berserker staff as well.
She didn't react to the Berserker staff.
Exactly. The Berserker staff is supposed to draw out your rage and your repressed memories. And when May used it, she got the super strength, but it seemingly had no effect on her. But when Ward confronts her about it later on, she mentions how she's dealing with her traumatic past and how she can't let go the horrors of her past.
Let me simplify this. She says she sees it every day. That's all she says.
Yeah. Yeah. She says she sees it every day, which is a much different version of dealing with her trauma than Ward's version of just repressing it entirely.
I don't like that, though. Okay, May has zero character so far. All we know is that she is haunted by something. She is always cold. She has no expression. She has no reaction to anything. And then in this episode, she touches this staff, which is supposed to bring back your most traumatic memories, and she still has no reaction and zero personality. And the only line we get to explain it is, "I see it every day." And yes, it's a sign that there's something in her past, which is good that it's like, we'll finally get to explore it, but I don't think this tells me anything about her, and it really bothers me that she feels so unhuman here to me.
Huh, I didn't really think about it that way. It definitely caught me off guard as how did she just hold this staff and like not even seem changed in the slightest? But it definitely didn't concern me, or it definitely didn't feel off to me for some reason, which is weird.
Yeah. So I do have some notes. Going back to the beginning, they talk about the Thor movies, essentially.
Yeah, and have like a little montage of it.
Yeah, but slightly after that, they have like Sky bring in the audience up to speed. But this actually made me confused about what people in this universe know, because this is like long after the Avengers, and Sky's saying, this is old news to you, but this is new news to everyone else, when they're talking about Thor being a god that's not actually a god, he's just an alien. And I was like, wait, so do people not know that he's an alien? That really confused me, and I'm like, what do people know then? Do they just see superhero guy?
I thought they knew that Thor and Loki were aliens.
That's what I thought too, but or
Yeah.
maybe it's just the god part. I'm so confused by this comment.
Yeah, that Norse cult also was like, we'll get the staff and like ascend to godhood. It's like, but don't you guys know Thor and all them aren't gods either? Like, I don't really know what you're trying to accomplish by just getting this staff.
Yeah, so maybe they don't know that they're not gods.
Also, apparently they're really good at deciphering poems. They probably have some like scholars among them.
Yeah, well, we don't ever find out what the tree poem was, but the fact that they found it in some random tree in the forest, I'm just like, all right.
They said the poem while they were searching for it. They're like, on this hill, something with three, like a circle of rocks and blah, blah, blah. There's a tree.
Oh, I totally missed that.
Yeah, that was what they were saying. I don't remember
Okay.
exactly word for word. I just remember something about a circle of rocks.
Fair enough. And then we also get this professor who turns out to be an Asgardian himself.
Yeah, a member of the Asgardian army in the past that used the Berserker staff, and he left it behind for some reason. Like, if you're gonna try to hide it, why not throw it in the ocean or something like that?
Well, that's where the Tesseract was thrown, and look how that turned out.
Well, yeah, but they knew that the Tesseract has fallen in the ocean. They didn't know. No humans knew about the Berserker staff, and he'd been on Earth for like 1,000 years.
I still feel like the ocean, people could easily discover it.
Well, it was also broken into several segments. Also, the ocean is way harder to search than you think. There's like jets that have crashed in the ocean, and they still can't find them.
Right, but I'm saying it could be stumbled upon accidentally.
True.
But if you are trying to hide these three pieces of a staff, why would you leave behind poetry clues as to where they're located?
Well, the whole thing was he told a girl a story, and the girl's brother wrote it down. Like 500 years ago.
He told her poems of where each staff was located?
Yeah, apparently, as like like he made a creative story about it. And then she's like, oh, I love this story. I'll tell my brother about it. And her brother was a monk, and he wrote it down or something.
I know that they said that he told the story about how he was a berserker and she wrote it down, but I missed, like, I mean, if that's where the poems of where these things are located is supposed to come from, that would be really weird that he told her the exact locations of how to find
Yeah.
each one.
I mean, they were really cryptic, and no one found them for like 500 years.
Yeah, but also these people. Okay, so I have two gripes. Two gripes with these people and this Asgardian. One, if he's an Asgardian and he has that level of strength, how did they best him that easily to get that second segment of staff from him?
Because they had the Berserker staff, so they had the same strength.
So did he.
I think they caught him off guard before he could use it.
I mean, he said later he doesn't like the staff, but I would think that he would take that risk of using it if it's going to fall into their hands and he needs to get it back.
There were a whole bunch of them. I think they caught him off guard, because you didn't even need the Berserker staff to have super strength. You just had to have held it recently, I think. That part wasn't very clear either.
Yeah, it just bothers me.
Yeah.
But then the second one is he knows the location of the third piece, like when S.H.I.E.L.D. is trying to get it from him. So they go to it, and somehow this couple has managed to find out and beat him there to that exact location.
I mean, they were trying to get all of them, right?
Yeah, but they've been searching for so long and just found the first one in the tree. And now all of a sudden, they're able to beat him to the to the third location when he knows exactly where it is and they don't.
Yeah, and they were just like an hour behind or less to the second.
Yeah. So that bothers me.
I think part of it's because the whole idea of no one knew that this story might be real in modern days until Thor 2 and the Avengers, when people realized that Thor is like a real thing. and they started to believe these myths, and they figured out where all the locations were, and then were just going one by one to all of them. So they had probably only been searching for a month.
I feel like they said they were searching longer than that, but I'm not certain.
I don't know, that's just my best guess for how they found all of them so fast. Like, they deciphered them all at first. Or maybe they were just invigorated by finding the first one, that they kept searching for the others really well, which is weird, because I feel like if you're under the control of the Berserker staff, you can't think very well.
Yeah, I agree.
They're just a bunch of angry scholars, Trey. I do like that the Asgardian professor jokes that it'll wear off in a few decades, the effects of the Berserker staff.
I don't think that was a joke.
I don't know. That's also Asgardian's lifespan, so I don't know if it's the same. But he said it was, like, worse for humans.
That's what he said was how it would wear off in a human, which is why I'm like, okay, so both May and Ward supposedly just still have this extra roidal rage inside them for still. I don't know. Because it's never mentioned again, it's, like, a weird thing to do. Like, just act like these things are going to affect them for forever, but...
Well, again, it could have been a joke.
It really didn't sound like a joke.
But once again, you just said it yourself. They never mentioned this again.
And that's the problem with it.
Yeah. Though there is one interesting development in this episode, which is the beginning of the relationship of Ward and May. Because they bond over their mutual pain of their past.
Which... So, Ward and Skye are in the bar, and they seem to be having a moment, and she's, like, trying to be there for him, and is like, oh, my shoulder's available, like, if you do need anyone. And, I don't know, it seems like this touching thing, and then he leaves and goes to his room. May leaves her door open, and he goes in there, and they have sex instead. And I don't like it.
Yeah, it's really surprising when you see it the first time, because the show's been hinting at Skye and Ward for the entire time, essentially, like slowly building it. And then Ward, who, in my opinion, just left because he wanted some time alone after the trauma had been awoken, goes back to the room and sees that May is going through the same issues that he's going through. And that changes his mind of whether he wants to spend some time alone. I don't know.
It just seems like, let's go fuck it out, because I don't think they did any talking. It was very clear, like, oh, you want to come, like, have some sexy times in my bedroom to try and forget our trauma?
I mean, that's how some people do stuff. Like, if Ward and Skye were to get together, it'd probably be a relationship. If Ward and May were just trying to fuck it out, then they're just gonna fuck it out.
I get that. I just don't like it.
Yeah. Well, the episode ends with another Tahiti, it's a magical place thing. I can't remember. Was this the dream?
I think so.
Yeah, Coulson just had a dream of Tahiti and then wakes up and is freaked out by it because it's weird.
Yeah. I know. I'm harping on this episode. Clearly it bothers me.
Well, Trey, what would you rate it?
You know, I was gonna give it a sideways thumb because it's not a bad episode, but I hate it, so I'm just gonna give it a thumbs down.
Yeah, if you hate it, you hate it. I thought the minor Asgardian lore, like the whole legend of the professor being like a man who joined the army just to like travel and then fell in love with Earth and stayed, I thought that was cool. So I'll give it a middle thumb. It wasn't really engaging, but it was neat.
And it had very convenient timing, as previously mentioned.
Yes.
I feel like they could have easily tied it in with something that actually happened in the movie, like something to do with the convergence caused something to happen, or literally anything. But instead we get them cleaning up the movie at the beginning, and then an Asgardian plot that has nothing to do with the movie. Anyways, let's get rid of all of that negativity and move on to episode 9.
Okay.
What is it?
What is it, you say? Well, Trey, let me tell you about episode 9 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, titled Repairs. In this episode, there is a woman who worked at a particle accelerator that had an accident. 4 people have died, and she blames herself for these deaths because she was the safety inspector, and her community blames her for these deaths. Meanwhile, strange incidents are happening around her. Things are being thrown around, things are catching on fire, people are getting hurt, and she thinks it's because God has abandoned her and that demons are haunting her. The agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are brought on the case to find out what is happening to this woman. Does this woman have telekinetic powers? No one has ever seen these powers before. Can the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. get to the bottom of this mystery and stop these accidents from occurring? What's going on? Find out this time on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They're but demons.
Yeah.
So apparently small church towns have particle accelerators. That seems normal, especially for a bunch of church-going folk who believe in all the science.
I mean, I guess if you want to keep it away from populations?
Yeah, but I don't know, a little church town? Seems a little weird.
I mean, in The Flash, the particle accelerator explodes and everyone in the world gets powers in that city because there's so many people there.
Everyone in the city gets powers?
Well, no, but a lot of people.
I don't know. I don't know about that show.
So maybe they were trying to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, sure. Because particle accelerators always give people superpowers, and this girl telekinesis, but not really.
So I guess the particle accelerator gave the guy that was haunting her the ability to go in between dimensions. Is that what happened?
It wasn't like the ability. He got stuck between dimensions, which is a weird explanation for a ghost mode kind of deal. They never really explain what the other dimension is, but he keeps calling it hell. They mentioned that it could be related to the portals that were opening in the movie Thor 2. And one of the 9 realms is like a fire hell world. I don't remember what it's called right now, but maybe he's stuck between there and Earth?
Interesting question. So when he lets go at the end, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, because that's like death, but is he just going to that other dimension?
Yeah, so was he consciously going back and forth? It seemed like it when he was engaged in combat.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's super weird. I don't really understand what's going on with him. Also, he's connected to a wrench because he was holding a wrench when the explosion happened. So cool.
Yeah. And all this happened just because he likes her, which...
Aww.
Okay.
So cute.
I could not get over... I literally, this weekend just watched an identical episode on The X-Files.
Some guy was causing minor problems to a machine to get a cute girl mechanic to go fix it.
No. The other premise of this girl
go stuck between dimensions.
Yeah, there's all these disastrous accidents happening around this girl, and it's because this guy who really cares about her died and is haunting her. Or protecting her, actually, because he likes her.
He likes her. Yeah, that was the really awkward thing about this movie. It's like, yo, Ghost Man, do you ever listen to what the people around her are saying? These agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are like, hey, we think you might have telekinetic powers, and we're trying to help you, and we don't want you to cause any more accidents or anything like that. And he's all rage mode. It's like, I gotta kill them all!
Yeah, I know. It's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this is his way of making amends, is to protect her by killing other people.
Yes. Well, clearly this guy didn't have a good understanding of how to properly deal with other people in death or life, so I'm not too surprised he's doing such stupid things.
Yeah, and because I just watched this exact same thing on The X-Files where it was done a lot better, it was a lot harder to watch this episode.
That's really funny. There are a few things that I thought were pretty funny about this episode, like Fitz and Simmons wanting to prank Skye because they never got to prank someone as seniors at the academy because I guess they graduated in a single year?
This plotline is just so pointless that I'm like, why is this a thing?
I do enjoy that they joke about the cavalry story and actually say that May was on a horse like Wild West style, and that's why she's called the cavalry.
Sure, but that's also the first explanation we get, so we don't know what the actual story is, and it's a little confusing.
They hinted it pretty heavily in this episode, though. I really like how they evolved the entire story of the cavalry from Fitzsimmons' joke to Ward's exaggeration of the real story, since he found out at the academy, to Coulson telling Skye about the story since he was actually there.
I think what's actually interesting about that is that apparently nobody actually knows what happened there.
Yeah, since May, went in to fix it herself. It was just her, Coulson, a group of civilians, including a girl, and she somehow saved the day on her own, and not even Coulson knows how.
He said it was one civilian and a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents.
Oh, my bad. I was just mixing up civilians and S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, but there was a little girl. which is important because later on, Coulson asks May, what did she tell Tobias, the ghost guy, that made him let go and disappear? And May said it was the same thing he had told her, which was to let the girl go. So it seems like the girl died, as far as we know, which would explain why May was so traumatized.
I think it's really interesting the way that they unfold these, because May is infamous for being the cavalry, but no one actually knows what that means because the story is just so, like, unknown.
Yeah, all they know is that she saved the day, defeating a lot of enemies from these cultists that were following a superpowered individual of some sort, single-handedly.
Yeah, so I feel like I should just give a rundown of Coulson's, like, full story here. Is
Sure.
That he says there was no gun, we were the welcome wagon, and it went south. Our people were being held hostage, or our people and a civilian girl were being held hostage by the followers of this gifted individual, and May went in alone and saved them, but she lost herself in the process.
Yep, and now we have super depressed May.
And she wouldn't say what happened inside, so even Coulson doesn't know.
Yeah.
Sky and Coulson also address the fact that that's the reason that Coulson brought her onto this plane, is because he's hoping to try and, like, get her back to what she lost of herself.
Yeah, which was hinted at in the first episode when Coulson got May on the bus. Well, the first few episodes. That Coulson was definitely trying to get May to open back up to the world. And she had been working in an office for years or something.
Yeah.
So one of the other things I wanted to talk about was the whole plane crash in general. They knew that Hannah, the haunted girl, was causing all sorts of havoc. And they knew it was dangerous to bring her on the plane, but they did anyways. Like, you'd think they'd keep her in, like, a literal bus, not an airplane, because the airplane might crash, which it did. Which everyone was really chill about, especially Fitz, who was locked in a closet the entire time, and Hannah, who was trapped in a prison the entire time. The plane crashed! How is this not addressed more?
I mean, it makes sense because they thought she had telekinetic powers, and the cell that she was locked in would stop her from using them.
That's true, but they had no good reason to think that since they had no idea what her powers were. And I'm more commenting on the fact that everyone was pretty chill about the plane crashing. It was a plane crash. Like, and Fitz was in a closet. You'd think he'd, like, get thrown all over the place and be bruised and injured.
I guess so. Apparently it was such a small deal that I didn't even notice.
Yeah, exactly. That was weird. They played it up as such a small deal, and Fitz was just joking around like, hey, someone let me out of this closet. This isn't funny. And this better not be a prank. Like, did we just crash? Like, how is that his only reaction? I would be way more concerned if I was in a plane that crashed while stuck in a closet.
I don't even remember this, so I didn't even know it crashed.
Well, it definitely landed. And it was also weird that they were able to take off at the end just by fixing the electronics. Apparently nothing was damaged.
That's why I just thought they landed.
No, they crash landed. They kind of had, it was kind of controlled, but they lost all power and were crashing through trees, so,
Okay.
Yeah, and one last thing is we have the final scene where we have Fitz who had succumbed to a prank with shaving cream on his face. And he's questioning everyone on the plane who did it. But it was May. She's finally starting to open up and be silly again.
Indeed.
It was funny, but it felt undeserved because May really hasn't had a chance to open back up yet.
Yeah. Plus she just touched the Berserker staff, but anyways.
It was funny.
Yeah. And I guess the only thing that's left to say is that May and Ward continue sleeping together in this episode. So I guess it's going to be an ongoing thing.
Indeed they do. Bow chicka bow bow.
And Ward has a really nice body.
This is true. I guess. I don't know. I mean, yes, he's a very muscular man.
Yeah. So I can't really blame May, but...
Yes.
Alright, so what would you rate this episode, Henry?
I'd give it a middle thumb. It had some interesting things. I liked the slow development of May's story. And I liked the girl, Hannah, who was being haunted, and her dealing with all the trauma, even though there were a lot of just weird moments in the episode.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a lukewarm thumbs up just because I liked it more than the previous ones, but now I'm feeling harsher, so I'll give it a middle thumb as well.
Fair enough. Well, now I guess we should talk about the last episode of the bunch.
Episode 10. Tell me about it.
Yes, episode 10 of season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., titled The Bridge. We have the return of the Centipede soldiers. There are now 3 super soldiers on the loose. And the first thing that they did was rescue this man named Poe from prison. He is a dangerous commander and strategist who knows how to use these soldiers to their best potential. Now S.H.I.E.L.D. has to deal with superpowered, evil individuals on the loose. Can the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents find Centipede and stop them? Can they stop people who have superhuman strength? Find out this episode on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There isn't much plot till the end, and I don't really want to talk about the end in my little summary thing.
Yeah.
I really like that this is the first, long recurring plot that has slowly been hinted at with our good old man, the Human Scorch, and Mike Peterson in episode 1. And finally, it's gaining momentum and becoming the main story that we're covering. And that they have successfully made these superhuman people who, they might not be as strong as Captain America, but these guys are really impressive.
Yeah, it seems to be like every 5 episodes we get the main plot.
Yeah, but this episode is full on main plot. Not just hints, full on, we are talking about Centipede and we're going to deal with Centipede.
And I hope that continues through the rest of the season. I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, me neither. I just know that this episode, we know that this episode ends on a cliffhanger in regards to the Centipede program and scientists.
Indeed.
But we don't know much else.
There were a few questionable things.
Like what?
I found it a little confusing that, I thought that Fitzsimmons had dealt with the Extremis and stabilized it in episode 1 with regard to Mike Peterson, but he comes back in and they're like, wait, how did the Extremis get stabilized? And they're all shocked, and he says it's just because they shot him with the night-night gun that he somehow magically got fixed.
Yeah, I think maybe their impression was that they stopped the Extremis serum so that he wouldn't have any powers at all. But he actually still has powers and still has them in a stable way. I think that's what they're confused about.
Is that what it was?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I was really confused also.
Okay, yeah.
But I really like that Mike Peterson is back since he was really cool in this episode.
I was also just really confused that the night-night gun would somehow be the magical cure to everything that he needed for his serum.
Yeah, I think it also has to do with, the night-night gun was used right when he was on the edge of exploding, so it, made it so that he never would have to explode again? I think that was their explanation.
Yeah, but then also made it so that he doesn't need continual injections and just happens to continue on his own, unlike all the other Centipede soldiers.
But he does need the Centipede thing in his arm still. Well, he doesn't need it. They can't remove it because somehow removing a thing in your arm will kill you. What happens if you cut off his arm? Will he die? It's a bit weird, but I do like that now the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. have a superhero on their side.
I agree.
And Mike Peterson's pretty cool.
Though I'm also not sure why S.H.I.E.L.D.'s entire backup was only him. I feel like they could have sent in a lot of teams.
Like Captain America. We have superpowered individuals on the loose. Who should we send in? Should it be this untested guy? Or someone we know can easily deal with the superhero guy?
Okay, well, we know that they're not going to send in an actual big-time actor, but
I know.
I don't know why they didn't send in actual teams of agents to help instead of one guy against 5 superheroes.
3, but yeah.
So, in terms of escalating the plot, S.H.I.E.L.D. learns a lot more about the Centipede program and who Reyna is, as well as the fact that there's a clairvoyant and Poe.
Yeah, I'm also a little bit confused about how Poe was able to contact the clairvoyant while in prison and while not in prison. So the mystery around the clairvoyant's really strange. What is he? What does he do? Does he tell the future? Why can't Reyna see him? Why is Reyna so obsessed with him? What is the point of this clairvoyant? It's a little bit too mysterious for me. I don't like the clairvoyant concept, but I do like the rest of the Centipede group. It's neat.
I don't have a problem with the clairvoyant mystery. I think it's cool to have an overarching mystery, though I do think it's weird that he's. I mean, I guess he could call him from prison. It's just kind of strange.
I like the idea of a mystery, but calling him the clairvoyant just seems kind of weird and mystical-y to me. And it seems like Reina is like absolutely obsessed with him, like sexually, and it's weird.
He definitely has this realm of like, ooh, the unknown big villain guy. I'm so aroused.
Yeah, it was strange.
But I guess if you're into that, like she is.
Yeah, I mean, Reina's a villain. She's clearly messed up.
Yeah, but maybe it'll make more sense when we find out who he is.
Indeed, since I don't remember. But yeah, back to Mike Peterson. It's kind of interesting that he hasn't spent any time with his son since he went to the SHIELD Academy. I understand that he's afraid that his son might fear him, but he's become such a respectable person, he should show his son what he's like now. And it just threw me off. It didn't seem right.
I mean, I think they explained it well. Like, yeah, it's weird that he hasn't seen his son, but he explained his fears and why he hasn't, so, you know.
Yeah, like, I understand the motives they explained in the show, but I feel like they only did it so that they could kidnap the son in the end of the episode, which just, it felt a little off to me, even though it was still relatively well done.
Well, that I agree with.
Especially because he's put in, like, protective shield housing at the end of his episode. So why was his son so easily captured?
Yeah, I agree. And I was thinking that when they were dealing with Mike's backstory and like, why haven't you seen your son? I'm like, why are we caring about Mike not seeing his son right now? And then it was just because they needed to kidnap his son. So
yeah, and also it's kind of weird that Mike is telling his son that he's doing construction work and that's why he's not home. I feel like he should just say he's working for the government or he's a cop.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know. It seemed really odd to me.
Well, your opinion has been noted.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the note.
So, two other things of exposition, I guess, is S.H.I.E.L.D. also finds out that Centipede is behind the eye implosions.
Yeah, I was actually just about to talk about that. Since the Centipede soldiers they find, well, one of the Centipede soldiers they find has the eye thing and is killed through it instead of getting captured.
Yes, and also Centipede and Reina realize that Mike hasn't needed these injections that they're giving to their other teammates, and they say that he's the key to stage 3.
Or is he?
This is the thing that confuses me about this episode, because at the end they don't even want Mike at all. They just want Coulson, even though they said Mike was the key to stage 3.
Yeah, they were clearly trying to mislead the audience to make you think that Mike was their target instead of Coulson, which is revealed at the end. But it's done in a way that doesn't really feel right. Like, there is misleading the audience, and then there's a twist at the end. But then there's just doing a bad twist that there was no setup for. Maybe if I rewatched the episode, I would see that she was looking at Coulson more, but I don't remember that at all.
I mean, it wasn't set up, and it was a twist, and it would have been fine if they didn't specifically say that they need Mike. So somehow between showing us that and kidnapping Coulson, they decided they don't need Mike, I guess.
Yeah, apparently. And the whole trade at the end was very weird, because when Mike Peterson was reintroduced to the entire group in the bus, he makes a huge effort of apologizing for everything he had done in the past, and that he's a changed man who's honorable and respectable and becoming a SHIELD agent. And the team is really wary at first, because they're really nervous about him, except for Skye. But then at the end, he does prove to be, like, not trusted, because he sells out Coulson.
I don't agree with that. I think it's very clear that he's a good guy, and his son has been kidnapped, so obviously he's going to do everything he can to get him back. And on top of that, to make it even clearer that he's a good guy, he doesn't just take his son and, like, leave and is like, well, so sorry, but I had to get my son. He turns around and is like, I have to make this right, runs to frigging fight them at that exact moment, and then gets blown up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it was, like, the right thing to do, to, like, protect his own son. However, I feel like he should have told Coulson, and they should have just played along so that they could put the trackers on Coulson rather than him.
Yeah, but I can see why you would think that, but I can also see why he did what he did, because he wouldn't have known if Coulson would just willingly get kidnapped for his son.
Yeah, and I also suppose that Centipede was very thorough about having no trackers or technology or anything that might allow them to be tracked. So he was afraid that revealing the information to Coulson would have added some kind of tell that they were up to something.
Yeah, and I guess Centipede just wants Coulson because they want to know why he died?
They want to know how he lived. They want to know how he was resurrected.
That is what I meant.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why they care so much about that. I mean, I guess they would want to resurrect their own people, so sure.
I don't know. Yeah, like, because Coulson hasn't, like, shown any super strength or anything. They just know, oh, somehow he died and is not dead anymore.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because how do they even know? It's probably has something to do with the clairvoyant.
Probably, yeah. And the only other note I have on this episode is that I really don't understand why May went off on Sky so hard.
Oh, yeah, I remember what you're talking about, how Coulson roped May into the mystery around Sky's parents, and she just let loose on Sky.
Yeah, because Sky was like, oh, here, I don't know. She's like, you've made it very clear that you don't want to help, but I didn't ask you to. And May's like, we have a mission, and if you can't put your personal attachments aside, you shouldn't be here. But it's like, she has a life outside of S.H.I.E.L.D., and her parents, like, that's her main reason and mystery for wanting to... I don't know. I don't understand why May is so angry about this and why this is such a big issue for her.
Yeah, it was strange, and I understand that she was angry at the beginning because of Mike being let on the bus, and then it gets even worse because Coulson's like, oh yeah, you think this is bad? Here's another bad thing I did. This guy's gonna come to you about her mom. Have fun. So, but it doesn't seem like that's enough reason to be mad.
Yeah.
May, your whole thing is being, like, in 100% control of your emotions and stuff. Really?
Yeah, that doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that one because I forgot to bring it up before.
Indeed.
But I do really like this episode, and I really like Mike Peterson being back, and he's a really cool character, even though he's now exploded.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with both of those things.
Yeah, I really like that this episode brought so much together from the past, and it felt like everything was finally picking up steam for more exciting episodes. Since, as we were talking about earlier, the first 3 episodes of this chunk, 7 through 9, kind of weak. But 10 was pretty exciting, and it's cool to see it advancing along.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard with shows like this that just distract from the main plot for so long with random episodes that have nothing to do with it. So it's good to actually see the episodes that do advance the plot.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely feels like the show is building towards something now. It's not just, like, fumbling along.
Yeah, so hopefully they keep that steam up.
Yeah. So, Trey, what would you rate this episode?
I'm gonna give it a thumbs up.
As will I. And I guess we should do our which episode is the best of the bunch rating. Trey, what episode would you give the best of the bunch?
Does it even need to be voiced, Henry?
Yes, I need you to tell me exactly which episode.
Episode 10.
Okay, thank you. I concur. I would also like to say it is episode 10.
So, just in case there was any question as to our feelings regarding these 4 episodes.
Episode 10 was the best one.
Yes, it was.
So, I guess that just about wraps it up.
Yeah, so if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us at Marvelous MCU on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us on Instagram at Marvelous MCU Podcast, and you can send us an email at marvelousmcupodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and wherever you listen to this podcast, whether it be iTunes or YouTube or whatever, please like, rate, and leave a review. Leaving a review is a huge help to spread the word of the podcast so everyone else can enjoy these episodes as well.
And if you would like to support the podcast, we're currently paying out of pocket to host this because podcasting is not free. So if you go to patreon.com/marvelousmcu, you can help us with our podcasting costs.
Indeed.
You can donate any amount that you want, but even something as small as $1 would be appreciated. So thanks for listening, and we hope you'll tune in next time for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, Episodes 11 through 13.